Really
All right,
good friends with.
thank you, ma'am.
I would think it's our place, I think.
Bring the Yamhill City Council meeting to order on Wednesday, June 14th, 2023 at 6:35 PM. May I get a roll call, please?
Morgan here. Esky here.
Potter here.
Adeem here.
And let's all stand for the flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, public comment. I open the floor for any public comment. If there's anybody that would like to have an opportunity to share, comment, make suggestions, this is the time to do it. Mr. Lossley, please take the podium. In 3 minutes, sir.
Robbie Lossley, Second Hemlock. Now, this portion right now is council meeting. Have nothing to do with the public hearing. Would that be correct?
There's no public hearing, that's correct.
Well,
This
there
is
is no,
There's no public hearing this evening. This is public comment.
I thought the notice identified public hearing tonight.
I don't believe it did. Notice a public hearing tonight.
Executive session.
So I do have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Has the budget itself been adopted? The 23-24 budget?
No, it has not.
It has not. Okay, so I do have a comment regarding that. So for the 23-24 budget, I, being one person, recommend that we exercise very conservative spending. And part of the reason, and I know that there are items in the budget that are identified as money is going to be spent for those. And that they've already been identified and committed. But I believe that the 24-25 budget year is likely to be a smaller resource year. We have COVID money that is part of our budget that we're about to walk into. And so if we have a difficult following year, meaning budget year 24-25, I'm sorry, this budget year 23-24 and also in 24-25, difficulties in our economy. And it is likely that conditions will worsen. We're going to need a larger carryover. So there is so much volatility going on in finance and the economy that it just seems to be reasonable and prudent to take this course of action. And I would like that regarded as for the record. Also for the record, I did receive a municipal code violation notice. Surprise. And, but I would like for you to know, for the record, I am very anxious to correct this violation as soon as possible and remedy the circumstance. I'm on board. As another point for the record, as a public record of municipal code violations, identifying who is the person to inspect the municipal code violation list. And I think that part of what can be gained by this is to see a trending of where we are having issues, and some of those areas might need to be revisited in terms of what we're doing, how we're doing it, and whether or not any changes ought to be made. Then another quick item is the service delivery charges. It is my understanding now, it was not previous, but it is now, that we have an official increase to our service delivery charges that did, it's my understanding, it did in fact go into effect on January 1, 2023. And that the new amount is $19,028 for residential SDC charges. What escapes me in all of the council meetings prior to and at the time of January the 1st, the question is, did these new charges, did they go into effect by action by city council? Because I don't remember that. I'm hoping that that did take place, but I don't remember it at all. So I'm asking the question if it did in that way. So I'll just ask the question. And so the amount today is $19,028. I'm not sure if council understands this particular point, but in most cities, the SDC or the service delivery charges are different from residential to, as an example, like a bowling alley, a restaurant, gas stations. They're just a variety of differences, and essentially they are higher because there is more risk and more requirement on the city, on the municipality, on the governing authority. And so if that is not something that you either one are aware of, or it is not having yet been addressed, may I encourage you to address that issue? Because the more time that goes by that we don't have these fees in place, it's money that is not going to come in. And our
Mr. Lossley, I hate to cut you short, but it's been 8 minutes. Can you wrap up for us, please?
I'm wrapped.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. And I've taken notes and taken into consideration comments.
Thank you.
Greg Raven, 205 South Maple Street. Thank you. That was really nice.
Kept it under 3 minutes.
Is there any other public comment? All right, closing public comments. Oh, is there anybody online for public comment? Please raise your hand or unmute yourself. Seeing no public comment online, we will continue. Agenda updates or additions, city administrator, sir?
Yes, I have several unfortunately today. On your desk for council is a deck of pink forms, if you will. I've made some amendments to the packet. The packet online, by the way, right this second is correct. So anybody that would be looking online is looking at a packet that doesn't need the corrections. But for the packet that was sent out to you last Friday, I'll tell you the changes that I made. You will see a resolution 809, which wasn't included in your packet. And that's a resolution to approve this 3rd Street water main replacement project. The project documentation is in the packet, but there wasn't a resolution, so I've included that. And that is, by the way, A2, I believe. No, I'm not certain which one that is. That comes under the 3rd Street water main replacement, E70. I've included a staff report for a new resolution, which isn't included in your packet, resolution 808. It's a resolution to transfer appropriations. I'll be glad to discuss it when we get there, but you've got a staff report and then you have a resolution for that as well. And then I also have created a staff report for resolution 806. That resolution was in your packet. That's the adoption of the 23-24 budget. And there in the rest of your pink sheet, page, I think it's 6, 7, or 7, 8, 9, and 10 are the changes that actually happened to that resolution. And I'm actually, the last 3 pages of this document are the changes that would be different to the approved budget that was approved by the budget committee, and I'll be glad to discuss those when we get to that resolution. So those changes were made to the packet you received Friday, but the online packet is correct. And also, by the way, your packet had approval of minutes. We decided to pull that approval of minutes from the agenda. We'd like to rework those. Those will be the next. Thank you.
Do you need these resolutions addressed?
No, those will in order on So when we get
As we get to it.
unfinished business, 7A1 will be one of them, and 72 and so on.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
All right, consent agenda. May I get a move, please, in a second?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Corrigan second.
Vote, please.
Corrigan, I.
SEA.
Potter, aye.
Adine, aye.
Financial statements. And Recology, welcome. Glad you guys are here.
Thanks, Mayor Potter, members of council. Good evening. Thanks for having us here tonight. My name is Dan Blue and I am Recology's Government and Community Relations Manager. And I'm here tonight with Ernie Martin, our Operations Manager. We're kind of Bobsey twins with our uniforms today. We checked with each other ahead of the meeting. Looks like there's some folks who are wondering if they can come in or not. Should I go open the door?
I'll get it.
You locked your own purpose. Yes, thank you. Yeah, so thanks for letting us be with you tonight. I have some brief comments. I kept them out just so I didn't forget anything important, but yeah, we'll keep it relatively brief. So this evening, I'm going to talk a little bit about collection services here in the city of Yamhill, as well as some updates on staffing. And then I'll talk a little bit about our proposed rate adjustment and our rate review process. So our operations here in the city of Yamhill remain relatively unchanged from last year, though we do have some announcements regarding staffing levels in our McMinnville-based operations. But first, I want to recognize the drivers who actually provide collection services here in your city. Our residential garbage driver is Austin Warner, and he's been driving for 19 years. Our residential yard debris driver is Matt Newby, 40 years of experience behind the wheel. Our glass driver is Alicia Trent with 40 years of experience, and our commercial garbage and cardboard driver is Todd Nehas. Oh, how do I pronounce it? Nehas? Sorry, with 5 years of service. So combined, we have about 68 years of driving experience providing services in your city. We're really proud of that team, keeping everybody, the neighborhood safe, especially the kids, going to school and whatnot. So I've only been with the company about 6 weeks now, so that's why I had to ask for the name correction there. I've got a background in government. I've been in solid waste for 23 years, but on the public side. So this is my first experience working for a garbage company. And I wanted to point out, Recology is the only employee-owned garbage company in the state of Oregon, and the largest employee-owned garbage company in the country. And I always said, if I'm ever going to work for a garbage company, this would be the company. And so I'm really happy to be here. Okay, moving on. Just so you know, a little bit of background, you have 489 customers signed up for services here in the city. Your most common customer uses a 90-gallon garbage roll cart weekly, and that includes every other week recycling. We do have some glass subscription subscribers, and I think that's only 13 customers. You do have a number of yard debris customers, and there are 80 of those who subscribe for that service. Let's see. So we also, the folks who do have yard debris service also receive a decal that they can use to take as much yard debris as they want to our transfer station in McMinnville. So I'm going to share that with you.
How many yard debris? 18, you said?
80.
Thank you.
80. One of the things, we voluntarily use R99 renewable diesel fuel in all of our trucks serving the city, as well as all of our operations here in the valley. That's a renewable fuel source, so it reduces our greenhouse gas emissions as well as the diesel particulate, so you don't have that diesel particulate entering the neighborhoods as we provide collection services. So we do that voluntarily, but it's, I think, a really important thing for us to do. And at this point in time, the fuel cost is pretty competitive with regular diesel, right? Okay, great. So a few other updates. During COVID, we experienced some difficulty filling some of our customer service positions, but I'm happy to report that at this point in time, our CSR team is fully staffed up in our McMinnville Operations Center, which services your customers. So we recognize that wait times for Recology have been a little rough for a while, especially during COVID, but those wait times are going down, and we continue to work on improving that. We do have a vacant zero waste specialist, and this is a person who would help with events, doing public education and outreach around recycling and waste prevention. We are working to fill that position here in the coming months, I hope. Okay. And then also during COVID, we had shut down our McMinnville offices for walk-up customers. That is now no longer a thing. So people can show up at the McMinnville office to pay their bill in person, and we're accepting cash now, which we didn't during COVID as well. Okay, finally, I just want to let you know that Recology, we support events through sponsorships or in-kind donation of services in the areas that we serve. Just some examples in the region here, we support the Yamhill County Household Hazardous Waste Cleanup event. And that kind of helps people clear out their garages of chemicals. It's, fire departments like us for doing that. We also support the Oregon International Air Show in McMinnville with services and volunteers from our company. And then I think last year, we participated in the Derby Days Parade, which I heard was really a fun event. I'm hoping that we get to participate in it again this year as well. Okay, on to our rate review process. So we are proposing a 5% rate increase in our collections program, and that is per the terms of our franchise agreement. This is projected to bring us to actually just below the operating margin expressed in the franchise. So if we were to do nothing on our rates at all, we would be projected to be at 4.38% return on revenue, or our operating revenue. That's quite a bit below the 8% that we should be at. Let's see. So we are asking for a limited adjustment this year because we understand that cities and residents are struggling with inflation, and we're all still trying to regain ground coming out of the COVID period. So we're trying to mitigate impacts to the communities we serve by keeping this rate adjustment pretty low. So hopefully there will be continued improvement in the economy over the next year, and we can go from there. So I just want to mention a few of the drivers of why we're asking for a rate adjustment. In the franchise, there's a CPI cost of living adjustment that would kind of be automatic, but it's capped at 4%. We did do a full rate review this year, and I think you have the documents in your packet. The CPI is projected for the next 12 months to be at 5.5%. And the actual Western region CPI for the period of March 2022 to March 2023 was actually at 5.1%. So also our labor is up in the valley. And part of that is because we had those vacancies and we're now fully staffed up. So it does drive up the labor costs quite a bit. We've also added a utility driver. And then we've made some adjustments through our collective bargaining agreement contract for wages, and kind of brought those drivers and our staff back up to where they needed to be for us to also recruit employees and also retain them. So that will help with that. Also, disposal costs are up, and this is largely being driven by Coffin Butte landfill, which is where the waste from the city goes to. Their rates are up 7.4%. The old rate was $35.59 a ton, and the new rate is $38.23. And that's kind of a pass-through cost out of our control. And then processing for recycling is up as well. At one point, it was up as high as $118 a ton for us to process recyclables. Luckily, that has dropped down to about $60 a ton. So kind of the days where recycling was a revenue generator for companies and cities are gone at this point. And so we are paying to manage those materials. It's still better than putting it in the landfill, but it does come with a cost. So I think on the positive side, fuel costs are a good story, and fuel is down from where we were previously. So that's the one good piece of economic news I have for you. So let's see, given all of those cost increases that we've experienced and project to continue to experience, we are asking for a 5% across the board rate adjustment for services here in the city. What that would look like for your most common customer, which again is a 90-gallon weekly garbage customer, it would be $1.70 a month increase. So the rate would go from $34.02 a month to $35.72 a month for that 90-gallon rate. And just so you know, City of Newburgh, their rates are going up 10% this year. So you can kind of see we really are trying to not put too much pressure on the communities we serve this year as we're kind of easing out of the COVID era. So I think that's it for my remarks. I'm happy to answer any questions. I can't answer them. Hopefully Ernie can as well. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. That's a great information.
Thanks.
I don't have any questions. Do I have any, you have any questions? No? Any questions? No. So you're needing from council the approval of the increase for the overall city.
Yeah. Yeah,
as-
and-
As a community.
And Mayor, what I've seen is some cities present a formal resolution that was voted on. I've had other cities make a motion live in a meeting without any, paper documentation and a number on the resolution. Either way works for us. If you'd like to make a motion tonight, that works for us. If you'd like to wait and do a resolution at the next meeting, we're hoping to have these rates go into effect July 1. So obviously tonight
Time's a
would be
ticket.
better than a later meeting for us, but I've seen it done in a lot of different ways.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. I don't have any issues or concerns. I think the 5% is reasonable. I was looking at kind of the average monthly increases for the front page here and average, I mean, yes, it's $1.70 for the 90-gallon cart, but as an average overall, it's like 65 cents a month. And I think that's a reasonable request, particularly with the increase in cost recently. I don't have any concerns or questions. Leave it up to council to make a motion or,
I'd make a
Yes.
motion to approve the 5% increase. It seems reasonable.
Dean, second.
may I get a vote, please?
Corrigan, I.
Potter, aye.
Dean, I.
You're good to go.
Thank you.
We'll create a resolution and get it taken care of, but you can count on the 5%.
Okay, we appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Glad you guys came by.
Thank you.
Lots of information. Space here. We're working on unfinished business. We're starting with resolution, or item A1, resolution to receive state revenue sharing. Resolution R807 is attached. You can review that. I'll turn that over to you.
Yes, thank you. Of all the changes that I made and showed to you, I did not include resolution 807, which is put in, but I will read to you that it's pursuant to ORS 221.770, the city of Yamhill hereby elects to receive state revenues for the fiscal year 2023-24 into the general fund of the city of Yamhill's 2023-24 budget. So that would be the resolution I'm asking you to approve this evening. We had the public hearing on May 10th. There were no comments at that time. And the budget has included these funds and approved by the budget committee. So up to you, council.
It's up to you, council. Any questions?
I have none.
No questions.
Any questions? Here's my answer.
Motion.
I would like a motion, please. I have no questions either.
I make a motion, we approve resolution number R-807, a resolution by the City Council of Yamhill, Oregon, declaring the city's election to receive state revenues.
Corrigan, second.
A vote, please.
Corrigan, I.
Potter, aye.
Dean, I.
807 is approved. Staff report for resolution after transfer. This is item A2.
Yes. It would be resolution 808. It's a resolution to transfer appropriations of $110,000 from the 2022-23, that's this year's annual budget in the sewer fund contingency to the sewer fund capital. And going through our grants with the city engineer, we found this grant had not been appropriately taken care of, and this is a staff issue. We did not, we included the revenue in the budget, but we did not include the expenditure. According to ORS's govern this sort of stuff. We can, but we must appropriate for the expenditure. And we're spending the funds out of the sewer fund right now, and that money's been going into contract services. I talked to the engineer and he's estimating spending roughly $100,000 this year in total. So I've set the appropriation at $110,000. And that's coming out of contingency for the sewer fund. We have the money available to do so. And this is really, to tell you the truth, more housekeeping. It's not a request for additional money to spend. We have the revenue on hand. It's in our general fund right now, and it will be spent from the sewer fund. So the request, you can see at the bottom, is a change to our appropriations from the adopted budget in 2022-23, which moves the $110,000 to capital from contingency. Net impact on appropriations for the year is 0.
Excellent, thank you. Any discussion from council, any questions, concerns? Can I get a motion, please?
I make the motion, we approve resolution R-808, a resolution to transfer appropriations of $110,000 from the 22-23 annual budget sewer fund contingency to sewer fund capital.
Corrigan second.
A vote, please.
Corrigan, aye.
Potter, aye.
Agin, aye.
Thank you. Item A3, resolution to transfer appropriations, resolution 808 attached. Staff report resolution after transfer. Are we moving to A4?
Yes, we are.
Okay, A4, staff report of budget adoption.
Yes, this is adopting the budget as approved by the budget committee and heard in public hearing on May 10th last month. However, I'm asking that this relates to the one you just did for this year, the resolution transfer of funds from contingency to
Accounts for that change.
yeah, so that takes care of this year. I would like council to approve in the adopted budget a change in the sewer fund, which would include $80,000, which will come from the general fund monies that's there from the having space now from the grant that we received from the county. Excuse me. So we'll have an $80,000 increase in revenue and we'll have an $80,000 increase in capital spend. And that is a change to the budget document, and on the last 3 pages of that pink sheet show the changes to appropriations and the changes that you will actually do to the budget. Your new budget value at this time is
$6,460,585.
yes, that's it. And it's increased by $80,000. So with that, your motion will adopt the budget. It will also prioritize our property tax so that we may collect that. And it will make the changes to the adopted budget from the approved budget. So those are the 3 things that will happen with your approval of this resolution.
And really, the only change in dollars is the 80,000.
Is the 80,000.
Okay, and that's been
correct?
accounted for as coming in and going out.
Yes.
Council, do you have any questions, concerns?
It's great that the budget's.
I know. We're done. Can I get a motion then, please? 806.
I make a motion to approve resolution R-806, a resolution by the city council of Yamhill, Oregon, adopting the 2023 to 2024 fiscal year budget, appropriating monies for operation and levying and categorizing property tax.
Corrigan, second.
Can I get a vote, please?
Corrigan, aye.
That's, yeah,
Potter, aye.
Adine, aye.
I would like to thank you guys for sticking with us. It's been a
Holy cow.
different kind of process all year long. My thanks to the budget committee and staff for helping pull these numbers together.
We appreciate you being there all along the way.
You got a good product and something to guide you next year as you go.
Exactly. Exactly. Budget adoption. All right, item A5, resolution adopting the resolution 806 attached. Never mind.
Yeah.
Moving on to item B, vacation rental ordinance discussion, council information attached. So we were asked to address the local lodging taxes. We were also asked to address vacation rental ordinances. And the council approved quite a while ago to go ahead and get information and prepare to create a local lodging tax and a state lodging tax. And we've got some information on that. We need to decide how we want to move forward with that. We also need to then also decide what do we want to do with vacation rental ordinances? So creating ordinances in order to make this happen. What is council's thoughts, opinions?
So I think, Mayor, that something like this should be something that we should probably send to planning. Is that along the lines of what you were thinking?
I think we need them to work on the vacation rental, the ordinance part of it, yes. Yeah, because I think we've already talked about, I don't know if we want to approve this, but I think we could send this for the lodging tax to planning to create the ordinances to support it, is what I'm thinking.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts from city administration?
No, it sounds like a great idea.
Okay, so Counselor Askey,
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
A long time ago, we talked about this and I don't remember how far we got. I think we decided against it because it was too complex, right? That was like.
that was the first time
Yeah.
we considered
Is
it.
it different now
It
for
came
us?
back to us and we
Yeah.
got more information.
That was this year.
That was
Yes.
earlier this year, exactly
Yeah.
right. And
Okay.
that told us, it was explained to us, the value of the city having a lodging tax.
And it's
And-
easier now,
And it's
right?
much easier.
Okay.
The state basically does all the work and sends us a check,
Okay,
which I'm highly in support of, the state sending
Yeah.
us money.
me too.
Yeah, me too. Okay, good deal. I'm so glad to hear that. All right, so we're in approval of creating a state lodging tax. We need the ordinances to support it. So I need a motion on how we want to proceed with addressing it through the planning commission.
What would you want that to look like? Set motion. So, because setting the rate, if that's all that they were to do. Right, I mean,
I think the rate is kind of clear. This would be part of what they would create and they would create the ordinance. They would define how that is going to be managed through our city.
mhm,
Who would qualify, who wouldn't qualify? What does a vacation rental definition look like for our city? And who would be required to support the lodging tax?
Okay.
I think is what the ordinance is required to present. And we as a council can't really create that ordinance.
right.
We need to submit it to planning to do the research, the background and develop a plan and come back to us with a proposal.
Beautiful.
You like that?
I did.
Okay. Put it into words.
To summarize all that, right? So I would make a motion to sort of ask planning commission to review the vacation rental procedures and implement any necessary changes to Yam Hill Code.
No.
Yeah, no,
Request an ordinance.
request an ordinance.
proposal
Planning.
for an ordinance.
A proposed ordinance.
Request
can't-
a
they
proposed
can't
planning
approve.
ordinance change for, yeah. Say that, Mr. Asking, you want to get that a better shot? Sorry about the bus I threw you under there.
Yeah. How are we?
Go ahead, Marcy.
Yeah.
Alright.
This one's a little odd.
I make a motion that we have the planning commission develop a proposed ordinance on vacation rentals. Tax
And tax.
and tax.
Second.
A vote, please.
We're good.
That was painful.
That was ugly.
Haskell.
Potter, aye.
Dean, I.
You did all that.
I want to see those minutes.
Everybody made a motion.
Everybody made a motion for the same thing, right?
Oh, I know, that's beautiful, yeah, oh, I can't wait.
I want to reread this one. I'm gonna take that out. Hold on.
That's on the planning commission.
I love it when we do that. Item C, pump procurement authorization information, Public Works. Supervisor,
We had a chlorine pump go down over the weekend. This is a couple weekends ago, so Kyle acted pretty hastily, made the purchase to have the redundancy in the system, so we had to use our backup. So we had to have one spare. The cost came in around $5,124. There again, it's vital to our treatment process to have that redundancy and have the equipment up there, so we made that purchase. I emailed Ross. Once that purchase was made, once I was in town, made that email, so that's what that alludes to.
So basically, it's against our procurement policy. You guys have to approve a payment over 5,000, so we're here to ask for forgiveness instead of.
yeah, no, we get that. How many pumps do we have?
Total, probably about 23.
Wow. And one of them went down and one of them is a little over $5,000? And we had a backup,
Yes.
so we were okay,
We're
but
okay, but we need another backup. and
but
make
you,
sure-
yeah. But you need the backup with the backup in order to make sure that, okay, I get it. May I get a motion, please?
Your Honor, I don't think there's an approval required at this point. It's just informational. We
Okay.
wanted to make sure that council saw what we did and move on.
Does council have any complaints? Council
Sounds like
approves that
it's
you can move on.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sewer vac discussion, city administrator.
Yeah, this is gonna be a real simple discussion. We've been talking to the city of Carlton, as I think we've discussed with the council before. And Jason's done a great job of getting over there and talking about getting a Vector trailer, basically, that we can use as well as them, instead of right now, we pay about 13,000 a year to have somebody come in and do the work we need done. Vector, I think the trailer they're talking about, Jason's what, $100,000 or something close to that over there. But depending on how we split it, and we haven't figured that out yet. You know, I think it could be comparable to paying $13,000 a year for a 5-year period, and you get to use a Vector anytime you need it, as opposed to having to schedule it and that sort of stuff. So anyway, we're pursuing that conversation with Carlton. We wanted you to be aware of it. If you got any questions or thoughts on it, this would be a great time. We can take those forward to Carlton. But any agreement would be in the form of an IGA and come back before you, and you could ask questions at that time as well.
And just to add to Ross's piece there, City of Carlton is open to the idea, like, so we're just walking through the IGA at this point, just trying to get it kind of fine tuned. So instead of us having to pay $100,000 out of our pocket, we're paying 50, they pay 50. Even split.
That's what they're proposing, is 50-50
Correct.
even split.
Well,
It's like I said, we're still working through the.
That's our proposal to them.
Carlton's obviously a bigger city than we are, so they'll use the
times.
Vector more. And so we haven't, I mean, these are things we want to take into consideration. It'd be probably a good business deal to do a 50-50 split, but that's probably not fair to us, you know, so,
It wouldn't be if they're 3 times bigger than we are. We would use it less.
but
They would use it more, but
absolutely.
as a good neighbor, it would be wise. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at 13,000 times 5, that's, you know, $65,000. If you can get 5 years worth of usage out of it, it's still a good deal. But agreeing with you, you know, when are you gonna use it? How often are you gonna use it? All of that stuff, that's the devil's in the details for that.
Yeah. That's the trouble with sharing a lawnmower
Yeah.
with your neighbor.
It sure is.
And they have an acre of land and you have a plot.
Yeah, so. But still, it's worth going down the road, I think.
Because the 100,000 for the city to put out for its own would be,
Undoable. You might as well, that's a 10-year payback, you know, you can get it into a 5 and get better service. Anyway, we'll keep working with them. Just wanted to have the discussion.
and what does the sewer vac do for the city?
Quite a bit, allows us to get to service lines quicker, faster, get the fixes, so you have less water loss.
Let's say that again, less water loss?
Yep.
I like that.
Also gets us, we can kind of go explore the system. If there's a valve or something we don't know about, then we can factor that out, that area. Then we can see the valve. If it's not on our mapping, allows us to jet lines, allows us to factor out manholes, extrude a lot of stuff without using an excavator, which is kind of friendly as far as a public works scenario, because then you don't have to pay for the utility 2 worker that has those skills. That greatly increases, you know, their cost. But overall, it allows us to get to water losses a lot faster, you know, instead of manually or physically digging them out or exploring it with a contractor who's a week out, 2 weeks out till he can even get to you. So,
Things like restaurants that put a lot of grease and
yeah.
sediment in your sewer system, clean that out. It's probably the most critical part of running a sewer system other than treating this stuff.
So
So
that would be good. Okay. So several years ago, it's been a while now, the city purchased a water tanker truck and donated it to the fire department with the agreement that the city would be able to access that tanker if they needed it for a project or something. That didn't work out very well. So I would very much encourage an intergovernmental agreement in order to make sure that that we're protected and we can get
business is business.
business is
not-
business,
yeah.
exactly, and not handshaking. Okay. Do we need to make a decision on that? That's just
No, that's
information.
just
Okay,
Informational.
all right, but you do need an approval of the Third Street water main replacement with an intent to award the attached public works, sir.
Yeah, so we reached out to we reached out to contractors of all people, looking to get our water line on Third Street completed. With that completion, to go into detail, would put us all the way to South Olive Street, all the way from Hemlock. So there'd be a full-on
Wow.
restoration to that water line all the way up to Cedar with the new subdivision. It's probably 3rd on our CIP list as far as projects. We acted pretty quickly due to the fact that we knew that we had a contractor currently here that would subtract from the mobilization of cost. So with Ross's help and AKS, we put that out to bid and trying to get some of the CIP list knocked off. As you can see, Lawson Corp came back at the lowest bid.
We had 3 responsive bidders. And so Lawson was the low cost.
And AKS wasn't,
AKS ran the bid for us.
did they? Okay,
Yeah,
Thank
they were
you.
the,
Yeah, this is a contract doing the service. for water
Okay.
lines, so.
they'll do some of the survey work and other stuff.
How much of this is covered by the development?
We do have SDC fees though, so that.
That's how that'll get covered.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a city project. This is nothing to do with the developer.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. Because that'll come up. That'll be a question.
Well, $57,000 is coming out of SDCs for the total.
Okay.
Developers paying SDCs. That's the,
They pay the SDCs.
yeah,
We use it to do these kinds of things.
yes.
Okay. Any questions from council? No? Why Third Street and not any other street?
Because it was higher on the CIP list.
So it's been determined a while ago through studies that that is the priority.
My discussions with John Christensen from AKS, that was our best bang for our buck.
Thank you. That'll come up
And there
in
again, like I
conversation
said,
too.
it completes one whole line. So your whole trunk line from Cedar Street to South Olive is completely new and upgraded, all your services and your main line.
So it finishes a project already started.
Completely finishes the project. Thank you.
That's nice. Good deal. Okay, if no questions,
List then.
check. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion, we approve resolution number R-809, a resolution to approve the Third Street Water Main Replacement Project.
Corrigan second.
A vote, please.
Corrigan, aye.
Heskey, aye.
Potter, aye.
Padilla, aye.
Item F, approval of Chief Greg Graven, City of Yam Hill contract, City Administrator, please.
Council has had an opportunity to review this contract. The chief has had a chance to review this contract, and at this point, it's approval by council. We'll put this contract into effect. So, write a staff report for this one, looked at it.
Yeah, we received it at last council meeting, right? And I know I've spent some time on it and reviewed it. And I'm sure council has too. Is in that review, is there any questions, any changes that you think need to be addressed? Any questions you have on the contract?
This hasn't been changed, so from what we've seen
No.
before, then yeah, it was great.
And this has been reviewed by our city council, or our city attorney.
I have no questions. Chief, do you have anything you want to present in regards to this, or you're satisfied with the contract as well?
Yes, I do not have anything to add, just appreciate the consideration and the time that's been, efforts put into it.
All right, with that, may I get a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the employment agreement between the City of Yam Hill and Greg Graven and approve the mayor to sign.
Corrigan second.
A vote, please.
Corrigan, aye.
Heskey, aye.
Potter, aye.
Padilla, aye.
All right. Final item, item G, updating of planning and land use filing fees. Resolution 805. City Administrator.
I think I'm gonna kick this one over to the chief who's been acting on this. So with that,
Chief Raven.
Great, I'm prepared. Just a minute. So this is something I started working back in January. And it's been extensive. What I did was took comparables from other things within Yamhill County. And then worked with legal as well as other vendors. And prepared this extensive list. What I did do, which it seemed, in my opinion, more challenging, but in the long run, easier is to do an all-encompassing fee across the board for police department, city hall, and then land use application fees. That way it's one list, and then when it needs to be worked on, instead of doing resolutions or approvals for this list, that list, those lists, which I'd seen in the past, this seems easier, in my opinion, to have just one master list and then to draw from that master list. And then to make the necessary changes when need be for the master list opposed to different land use fees, application fees. And then there's been, as I do, as the records technician, a lot of records requests. So I've been really vested in working through what is current throughout the state as far as what those fees entail. And included that list in there as well, which kind of overflows into the city hall staff as far as some of their records and the requests that they get as well, to make sure that we're all on the same page as a city with our fees that is comparable to other cities within Oregon as well. So that it was extensive, took a lot of work. That is the final, I don't want to even say draft, the final copy, unless somebody has any questions regarding that. That's what we will continue, what we will start using and continue to be using unless there are changes, which there will be yearly as far as some of the required changes by statute of some fees.
Excellent. I went through it and I have only one question actually, and it probably is simple. The city park and area special events, there's private, commercial, nonprofit use, and each location is itemized out. And what if it doesn't have a total overall, if somebody wanted to rent the entire park? So is it all of these items, separate items just added up for a total cost, usage cost?
It could be, yes, if that's what they're gonna utilize it for, so they could have it broken down into just gonna be using this covered area, or if they're gonna use the entire park area, if they're gonna play horseshoes, or if they're gonna have a volleyball net set up, then all of those fees potentially could,
Adding.
yeah, could be accrued.
Could we add an all-inclusive amount that maybe had, you know, somewhat of a reduced rate? I don't know. I'm just presenting thoughts.
I don't know about a reduced rate, because I believe that that's already been added
Reduced?
in there as far as with the groups. And then because what was happening is like even for the room here that we rent out, there was a fee and it was pretty minimal. And it was basically you could have it for an hour or all day for that same fee. And then when there are small groups or the larger groups, it was the same fee. Whereas now if I have the language in there of if there are larger groups, then there's more of an expense. So if that answers your question for that, not just for the park, but for here as well.
Okay. Are you recommending not doing an all-inclusive?
Yeah, there's been discussion with Kim regarding that, who primarily has been the one over the years that has done this, and as late of having to reprint it for tonight, last week, there were some changes that were made that I believe in appeasing what her was about that would cover everything that needed to be happening. And there was further conversation just to like, well, because there aren't a lot of different areas where there's a group and then there's, you know, where I broke it down. I wanted to leave that in there intentionally because it potentially could be down the road. So it doesn't matter that we haven't had something for a year, 2 years, or 3 years. If I didn't include that, it would happen tomorrow where someone requested to have like a business up there and different rates or wanting to put fencing up and so forth. Yeah, which is there's fees in there for that as well. So I left all of that in there intentionally because it might not necessarily be used, but if I didn't put it in there, it would be used tomorrow. That's how that works.
That's how that works, yeah.
So that's why I wanted to leave all of that in there intentionally, not that it necessarily could happen, or even like with the horseshoes. I can't remember the last time that there's been a request for that. But if I left it out, there would be one.
I would just like to play horseshoes in the park.
I just want to rent your
There you go.
horseshoes.
You got the fee right in front of you, no
I
questions
got
asked.
$15.
So there was a lot of thought.
There was a lot
I
of
guess
time and
as to why
effort put
I'm
into this.
answering is why the language is the way it is and the fees are the way they are.
Like I think you said, or Ross said, you've been working on this since January. So I know you've put a lot of time and effort into making sure it suits our city and it meets our needs. And I respect that. Thank you. I don't have any further questions. Council? No? Code interpretation, is that a consulting type thing where they don't understand a code and they come for interpretation of a code? Oh, cool. All right.
And just to elaborate a little further, so what we will do is, once this is all approved, thumbs up, then I'll work with Angie, we'll get this posted, so it'll be something that'll be on our website, it'll be something that'll be through our announcements, so it'll be accessible to our community.
Okay, excellent. So we will put it online for people to, oh, perfect. Perfect. I appreciate that.
If I may,
Please.
a lot of cities take that master fee schedule and they make it part of the budget committee review, because then you build the budget off the master fee schedule. So the budget committee gets a chance to look at it, and it's adopted along with the budget, which is kind of a nice way, instead of the chief having to come every time there's a cent increase or whatever. So,
And Chief, do you recommend that we do an increase each year? And if so, by how much?
I didn't hear that, I'm sorry, they're talking, my voices in my head.
Do you need to address that? No, okay. Do you recommend or suggest that this be reviewed each year and increased annually? By what percentage would you?
Yes, I wanted to make it sound like it was my good idea and like I had thought ahead of time for next year's budget, but
Yeah.
thank you, Ross, that was my intent. Was to bring that up next year during budget and then to discuss things that need to be reviewed in that. And to
That
make it
time.
kind of work coinciding with the fiscal budget year.
And what is kind of the average increase rate? That would be up to the budget committee, is that
Yeah,
what you're saying?
it does, and there are some things by statute that to speak of, I don't have the answers to as far as what they would be, but there's things that, for planning and land use, as I'm learning, that there's a yearly increase. There's percentages based upon those that will be known during budget season.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Input, concerns?
I think that it looks great.
It's thorough.
Very thorough.
Well, Ms. Gradowski was asking if you had to bring your own horseshoes for the 15. One of those come with horseshoes.
You're looking at Public Works?
I mean, whoever's in charge of the horseshoes.
With or without.
I was gonna ask, street vacation. What do we do when the street takes a vacation?
Call him.
So, motion, please. Anybody?
I make a motion, we approve resolution number R-805, a resolution adopting and approving an amended Yamhill master fee schedule on city fees and charges for planning and land use permits, planning services, and land use applications.
Horgan second.
A vote, please.
Horgan, aye.
SEI.
Potter, I.
Adine, I.
New business. Professional service agreement consulting city planner.
Yeah. I would say it looks like this is fairly self-explanatory. It's done every year and I don't think he raised his rates.
No, he's very affordable.
Very affordable and so put a staff report on it. I think a resolution or a verbal resolution that just says we accept.
In my experience, he actually doesn't charge us for time that he puts in. And just for update for council and record for any council member that may not be aware, we used to work with a particular agency and a particular owner of that agency, and we dismissed that person. This particular planner was a member of that agency overall and was employed by them and maintained that until recently. This planner is now separated from that agency and is his own contracted person, which is why we're doing this contract, is to separate this planner from the old planner. And so that's just kind of an update on that situation. Any questions in regards to this?
So it's the same contract, we're just gonna sign it for.
I think it's just for our review. I don't know that it needs an
Does it need to
approval.
be re-signed? Very good.
Ross, has it been approved? Does it need approval? That's my
November.
question.
No, I think it needs to be signed. That was Kay signed it in 11/15/22. I think you should approve the contract for 23
For the new renewal of it.
renewal. It's every year.
It's a renewal. Got it. All right, so can I get a motion for renewal of contract?
I'll try again.
All right,
I would make a motion to approve the professional services agreement for Walter Wendelowski and the city of Yam Hill, Oregon,
As the consulting city.
as the as the consulting city planner services between Walter Wendelowski and the city of Yam Hill, Oregon.
May I get a second?
Adine second.
And a vote, please.
Oregon, I.
SEI.
Potter, I.
Adine, I.
Approved. All right, department reports. Chief Graven, I have been curious about this report. I was expecting alternate things to have occurred, but I was surprised. Will you share your report with us, please?
Oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah, the interesting one.
It's right here. I could read it verbatim. Yeah, it was very enlightening as far as Pillar to Post came in and did a report of the air particulate, and I'm pretending like I know what I'm talking about. But basically, is it okay to be breathing in this building? And the status report was, yes, we don't have to put up tape and vacate the building or have that construction equipment come across the street. So I was surprised to hear that
Yet.
yet. Yeah. The testing was done as is with that process around outside for the ambient and then interior, and it was done throughout the whole building. The only concerning area was actually up in front of City Hall where that cinder block wall is crumbling and gonna, at least at some point, cave in. And then there's an area around one of the employees' desks that where the air conditioning heating unit continues to leak into the carpet and the concrete floor. So I'm gonna try to figure out, because that's the only area that was, everywhere else was acceptable, but I mean, what does that mean? So if we're okay to be breathing in here, the only area that they had that was slightly elevated was the wording used. Is that area, and I'm not saying particularly that employee's desk, but that area in the front office. So about a year ago, and I can only wait so long for a certain vendor to come in to service these units. The request was made over a year ago. Still waiting, so there's a conversation as of recently that we're gonna look to have some other vendor come in just to service the units, because I've been doing that, and that's my limited experience. I put that tool build on. It'll do preventative maintenance of cleaning out the venting screens and cleaning out the particulate from inside the units. So we'll have someone come in to do that. And I also had concern because there was actually some, as a result of a recent one this month, that ended up molding underneath that employee's desk area, the carpet molded, so look into potentially seeing what to be done to clean that up or to get new carpet up in front of City Hall, which is way overdue anyway. So looking into that, but we're okay to be breathing in here.
I was really surprised by that. I
Yeah.
anticipated there to be some
Mhm.
awful things in here. But the air quality in this building overall is
Air quality overall is good,
good.
yeah, within the normal breathing.
Okay, so we lost our excuse for calling FEMA to have it tore down and rebuilt.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, I'm a little
I
disappointed.
have to admit that publicly. And a case of beer for them to accidentally come across the street didn't fly, so,
No, you offered him beer across the street to come in.
allegedly.
Or oops, I hit the building. Yeah, okay, so we're good where we're at, and it's gonna last us a little bit longer. All right, I
As
guess,
far as the breathability.
as far as the breathability, yeah. We can't guarantee the walls deteriorating.
Yeah, well, we did have contractors come in to do bidding and they left and I heard from them and had somebody come in, which was kind of comical. They came in and were taking pictures and making phone calls and then realized it wasn't for here, it was for the concrete wall next door for the used car lot place, which is hilarious.
That is hilarious. So what do we do to resolve the concerns that we do have? That we do need to address?
Still in the figuring that out stage, but I will have a better understanding next month of what needs to be done.
Perfect. So you'll keep us posted then. Excellent. I'm really glad you took this on. I was kind of hesitant at first, but it turned out okay. So that's good.
Yeah, and there was an intent behind it, so I'm glad that I did.
And thank you for that.
Mhm.
All right, any more on that? This was an extensive report, by the way.
I'm not gonna read it verbatim.
No, I went through the whole thing and
Yeah, it was really good work.
it really was amazing.
It was kind of fun to watch.
Kind of what?
Kind of fun to watch.
I thought it was more fun to watch than it was to read.
Well, definitely.
To be honest, I didn't read it. So.
Okay, anything else, Chief Graven?
Not from now. Just fall in line with the next thing, keep going.
Yes, please.
Okay. I noticed that there were some challenges with being able to be heard over here, not necessarily my voice or Jason's voice, but for the recordings. So we had talked with a certain organization to come in to relocate the speakers and they wanted $2,500 to do that. I will not be sending an invoice because it took me about 10 minutes to relocate these, which was the reason for the podium there, because we moved the speakers up here and have people move forward so that there isn't that, which we kind of want to make sure we have the decorum. But there was too much back noise of, I don't want to say offensively chatter, but chatter, which was making it difficult for the recordings and understanding what's being said. So I relocated the two microphones up to the front here, put the podium here so that people stand up and still will be heard and it recorded and audible. So that took me longer to clean all the particulate out of my hair and vacuum the floor up than it did to relocate the speaker.
Excellent.
So we did a little test and it appears to be working. Either way, we'll take credit for it because I'll be the credit for it because I'll be the one fixing it, but it didn't work. So, but it appears to be working. We'll find out if Angie gives me a phone call when it didn't work
So
tonight.
police chief and city electrician, is that what we're calling you now?
Sure.
Don't go there, Your Honor. I don't want
That contract's already approved.
Yeah, I'll add that to the title.
to stay on the,
Okay,
I have curly hair for a reason.
I got it. Anything on your police statistics to report that you'd like to share?
If anyone has any questions about that, things are going well with the police department. I commend AJ for doing a great job. He's been working through the accreditation process, which I will continue to report on that monthly because I'll be doing that monthly for about 2 years. Yeah, so he's doing extensive work on that, going through a lot of the training that's required and copy and paste. He's eyeballing me right now.
Yeah.
Copy and paste Angie about this, but with the accreditation process, we will not have to pay for the fees this year. It will be something that the Oregon Accreditation Alliance will be picking up for this year. Because we do have to have another process, which is a great program that I've been looking into extensively for about 2 years. And it's a software program that works with our Lexipol, which is called Power DMS. Yeah,
Your
they'll be able to fix that. No, it's the
Joking.
So Power DMS will help with keeping track of all of our training, keeping track of all of the credentials that are going to be required for the accreditation, and working with the software for Lexipol, which is our report writing system. And there's a cost for that. And it's required. Fortunately, we won't have to worry about that, so I'll be able to work that into next year's fiscal budget year for what those costs will be, which is the added cost. So that's nice. But I don't have to worry about finding. And then they have grant funding for agencies such as ours that help for funding for financial assistance. So I'll be looking into that. But at least I have a year instead of trying to scramble to do it now.
So you and I have talked about what the accreditation process is, but what the accreditation is for a city police department. Can you kind of give us, for the record, what that means to be accredited as a city police department?
Sure, it's a huge undertaking, but so I started the process several years ago. And I was not able to keep up with the challenges that's presented. Thank you, AJ. Because it's a lot of work and I was basically chasing my tail because by the time it would be the process for renewing the accreditation, I was still working on the accreditation process because it was just me that's doing it. And so I was involved with that catch-22 if I couldn't, with all the other responsibilities, do the process. So what I chose to do then was have all the requirements for an accreditation, but just not be able to go through and prove the accreditation process. So with what's required for the trainings, what's required for evidence, what's required for anything that involves a police department and accountability, we as an organization have been doing. We just haven't been able to pay to have someone say, this is what the accreditation process is, and yes, you're accredited. So what that accreditation process would be is it helps with federal funding, it helps with grant funding, and it helps with accountability and transparency.
and insurance. Should you ever.
We like that too.
Yeah. So it's a great process, and accreditation is very achievable, and Officer Miller is very capable of doing that. But they have an actual title for what's referred to as an accreditation manager. That's a full-time job. It really is. So I will be helping what I can do. Corporal Van Cleve will be helping what he can do, but that's Officer Miller's program that he'll be working on.
Well, thank you, Officer Miller, for taking that on. It's a big undertaking.
And then once accredited, what happens is every 2 years, you go through the accreditation process again for an audit. And where they come in and do an audit to make sure, and you have to, it starts the whole process over for the audit, for proof of the accreditation. So it's not once you get accredited, you achieve that, and then it's a good job, you get the certificate. It's a 2-year reaccreditation process, unless that's changed.
Do it again.
Oh, sorry. Never mind. Strike that last comment. You can disregard that, Officer Miller. Yes, it's a 2-year for reaccreditation.
Excellent, thank you.
The radar trailer, if it's been seen out in the community, it's actually been going now for a little over a month on its own. And it's just weather related. So when we have that bright thing up in the sky, it does its process for sustaining itself without being plugged in. So I've been moving it around to different areas. So if anyone has any areas that they'd request it, I'll be moving over to Main Street. I was gonna do that today, but I used my truck and Public Works was gonna help me today, and I realized the keys are in my truck. So I will move it again tomorrow over on the Main Street and let it sit there for a while. So what I'm doing right now is going to set it up while we have the good weather, put it in an area for a couple of weeks, and then after that happens in certain areas, unless I get a request to move it somewhere, then I'll move it to an area and have it there for a week, move it to another area. And move it. It's not real easy, but it's mobile to move around. So if anyone has any requests from the public or from council of where to relocate it to, just either email me or let me know.
Can I let you know now?
Where's Valley?
Yes, please.
That's after Main Street.
Is it? Excellent, thank you. Yeah, and particularly at 8:30, 10:30, 12:30, and 2:30. There's one particular vehicle that is quite obnoxious 4 times a day at those pretty much exact times. So
Yeah.
that would be helpful.
That area for being able to be visible for the sun and not being an obstruction
Yeah,
and
it's
a hindrance presents a challenge as to where to put it, but it'll be, I'll talk with the property owners by the Christian church and see that's okay to put it there again, and that'll be the location that it'll be.
Okay. Thank you, appreciate that. Good for you. Do you have anything else?
Things for the city are going well. Angie's doing an excellent job, and I appreciate her hard work and the things that she's been doing and picking up on things real quick and efficiently. And there's still things that we will work through as far as with technology, but we've been using the announcements here, posting them. And that seems to be working well. I haven't seen anything positive or negative, but that's usually a good thing that it's working well for posting announcements. The web page has been going well. There's still some technology hiccups there. And I'm working with IT on those issues as well as some other things that will be an expense that are criminal justice information service requirements of the technologies that we have here and the securities of them, and to making sure that they're secure, which will include having to rerun some of the Ethernet cables for the internet and so forth, and make sure there's firewalls and all that fun stuff.
Okay.
Also, we've been working to move away from paper because I've noticed that our recycling bin, that there's 2 of them and they get full. I know that Recology was here earlier. I appreciate their hard work that they do. However, I'd like to limit their work because there's a lot of paper that I feel is, I don't want to say wasted, but is unnecessary, that it should be just used once and then recycled. So we're working through and actually went and picked up one of these MacBooks and then realized because there were points or something that we were eligible for a free one, so went picked up, wasn't free, but it was because of the use, so it did cost nothing. Nothing is free. So we're gonna work into the process with the MacBook, so we would really like the feedback on them to see how they're working, if they like them. I know they're not as good as yours, Tim, that you bring in, but MacBooks are inexpensive for the most part. We got a pretty good deal on them, and because it's public information anyway, and what we can do is just set up logins for each individual, and then it's secured, so we don't have to have the cost to have IT be involved with it, and because that could be really expensive to have them become involved with these and all of these securities that could be potentially, if they become other than just a public used device. So please give feedback. They seem to be really good devices so far from what I've seen of them. And for what the utilization will be, they've already paid for themselves with the paper that we'll save. So any feedback, good or bad, just let us know. And that's what we intend on moving towards. So we'll be hopefully looking for a budget to get more,
Excellent.
to figure out how.
That's good. This will help tremendously.
I did speak with the superintendent, Clint Raver, and they have MacBooks there. Some of them are outdated. And so there might be challenges with just the
The school
updates.
superintendent. School
Yes,
district?
yeah.
Thank you.
what did I say, or I didn't?
You just said superintendent.
Clint Raver, yeah, school superintendent. And what they would be able to do if they can find somebody is to find something that they're not using and donate them to us. However, he wants to make sure that they're a usable device. So I'm working with him on that as well, that they might be able to donate some of their books.
Excellent.
Use for us.
We like donates. Good, thank you.
I could talk more, but I think that's enough.
Well, I do have a question for you.
Sure.
Your reserve program, officer reserve program, where are we at with that? I know you were working with it previously.
Yeah, nothing new to report, or we're still, so it's not, for a police department, the hiring process is extensive. And potentially takes up to 6 months. Just for a hiring process, so we're still going through the hiring process, and which includes backgrounds and so forth, so nothing new to report. Yeah.
Okay. Right, are you still in the process of a reserve officer process?
Still in the process,
Okay.
and the applications are always, we're always accepting applications. And we're going through the hiring process for a couple of applicants still.
Excellent, so you still have 2 applicants in the line.
It takes a while.
That's good to know, thank you.
And just to expand on it a little bit, so there is the way we as an organization have always done it is the standard that DPSST is going to now. So we've always done a very extensive, thorough background. We've always done what the processes are required as far as the testing and the psych and the background and so forth. So DPSST is now going to be making that a requirement next month. But that's the process that we have always done, even for the reserve program. So it takes a while.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Appreciate it. Good information. All right, Public Works, Mr. Wofford.
Yeah, start with the water plants. We are currently producing 320,000 gallons a day. So that means we're making 320,000 gallons of clean drinking water to our reservoirs. With that said, we've been looking at the intake screen system with ODFW and going to design with AKS. We're going to be increasing that screen at some point. They're giving us the green light with that. That'll probably be a 24, 25, where we're going to extend that from 2.5 feet to 5 feet of intake at that structure, which will greatly do a massive difference as far as what we're taking in. Along those lines, we continue to look with ODFW with the rock check dam. That's kind of been put on, I wouldn't say on the back burner at this point, but we're also looking at our streaming current monitor that we have in place that we put in during the curtailment. And we built that into our SCADA system. So now we can see how much water is bypassing our intake. So we can take that data, relay it back to ODFW and say, hey, if we can catch this extra 30%, we could be flush with, 450 gallons per minute yearly through the summer times. So it'd give us the ability to justify what we're bringing in at a faster rate. When we're speaking of rates, right now we're bringing in 420 gallons per minute, which is only 30 gallons per minute less than what we take in the winter. So we're still pretty flush with water up there. We have not released any impound water that's just going over the overflow, overspill. In regards to that, we have not opened up a valve in the impound. So things are looking good as far as what we're bringing in. In regards to distribution, that's been kind of something that we've worked with within budget and brought to council a couple times, but we'll be releasing on July 3rd, our insert a valve program that we're going to do on 240. So what's going to happen there is we're going to have 3 to 4 insert valves going into the system, which in essence gives us the capability to isolate the system outside of the intermediate school. We had an issue a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago, where we had to isolate the intermediate school and up to roughly maybe 120, 130 residents with a valve that was not functioning correctly, properly. With these inserted valves, it's 99.9% shutdown capability without having to isolate those residents or the intermediate school. So that's quite a big project. It's going to be partaking on 240, which we'll be cutting into the road. So we're going to be using ODOT's easement. So just to give everybody a heads up, we'll go through Angie to get that information out because there will be steel plates in the ground, multiple. So those will be penned, they will be asphalted, they will be safe to drive over. But that work will be taking place July 3rd. There again with distribution, going back to 3rd Street currently, all the off-site work is completed as far as water and wastewater. They're heading back up East 3rd, so it will be isolated and shut down for another 2 weeks. And that's in regards to our storm system. And with that storm system, like I presented to you guys last council meeting, that will be the Cedar Street improvement for storm. So that will be tied into that project along with the subdivision. So we as Public Works are pretty excited about that project, just knowing the neglect and the abuse that those houses in Cedar Street have taken with overflow and storm issues. So that's a big positive. Distribution has been a big one. There again, we've looked at our system, we've isolated our reservoir to our water plant just to see how much water loss we had. It came across with Tim Tyson, that conversation we had with him. And I know he was projecting, probably 30% water loss. Once we ran the numbers, we were more or less in the 13% water loss. And our projected is through service lines. It's not on the main line itself. So that's a huge win for Public Works and your guys' system.
Let me reiterate
Go ahead.
this so I can get my brain wrapped around it. So you measured water loss between point A, point B, and point A, point B is
Water plant to reservoir.
the reservoir. Okay. And it was anticipated it was a 30% water loss between those 2 points.
Correct.
And it turns out it's only 13%.
Correct.
So have we reduced that, or is that just?
That's a massive reduction.
I mean, it's a massive, but did we have a hand in reducing?
Yes.
And what did we do to reduce those?
The 2 major projects that stand out was the insertive valve that we put in. There was a section there that was weak. Once we got into that insertive valve, there was some damage to that pipe. That helped that aspect. And then we go back to Mr. Brown's property that was roughly, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but it was astronomical. And then there we found some issues on that main line up the ways quite a bit, where it was a service line where it was neglected and abused and pretty split open. That was affecting our corp. So that was nipped in the bud right then and there. And yeah, so that's what we're looking at.
That is exceptional.
Yeah. I
30%
honestly-
to 13, we only have 13% water loss overall.
Yeah, from point A to point B. So
That's
it
huge.
is huge. It's huge. I mean, talking with OAWU, which deals with, water loss on a daily basis, they're saying to us, like, you guys are hitting marks that, like, we didn't think or didn't even propose that we're gonna be on your guys', water rate study. So good for you. Thumbs up to the whole crew, to staff and everybody. So yeah, everybody
Well
played a
done.
part in it. Yep.
Well done, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's what we're here for. Changing pace a little bit, just jumping into collections. As most of you know, they were pipe bursting on that project for the subdivision. I know that came across, media. So in regards to that, it didn't go as planned. I'll just be open and honest. We got about 150 feet in with the pipe bursting. The company, the subcontractor doing the bursting, their equipment failed, got the burster stuck, which we had to open up probably 40 linear feet of section of road off of 3rd Street there. There was a bad subgrade. Lawson Corp got the pipe in. We had to transition from an HDPE, which is a high density polyethylene pipe, to a C900. So there is a section of that pipe that wasn't on the plans, but we had to adapt out in the field. It's passed through engineering, it passed through their engineering, all the powers that be. Ultimately, is it ideal? No, but there again, you have to adapt in the field. Things that are on paper aren't always out in the field. I will say it's a little streets collections deal for you guys here. The roads on 3rd Street are deteriorating faster than they can fix them. If anybody's been on 3rd Street, it is bad. We are waiting on Geotech, that is, to give us an answer. It is not going to fall in the city as far as $1, but the time frame for that road to get fixed to where it needs to be is going to be longer and stretch out longer than what we predicted. So I just, ask for grace from everybody on 3rd Street and just kind of bear with us. You are going to have a better road long-term. But for the time being, there's going to be detours and rerouting. So there again, the collection aspect of that job is done, all off-site work. That projects, they're starting to get mobilized up in the area where the field is. I know there's been a lot of dust complaints with the residents. I went over there, we spoke to their contractor, we spoke to the super project manager, and they're gonna mobilize more water trucks in the area just to keep the dust abatement down. So just bear with us. We have a solution, what we think is, and we're moving quickly. So that's that. Moving into streets. Just a lot of signage, trying to get new signage there, just waiting kind of for them to get it to me to distribute it. We're just seeing a lot of repairing needing, we've looked at possibly, we have a system in place, but our system in place just cannot keep up with the rapid deterioration, the alligatoring on the road. So we've done crack sealing in the past, but overall, I'm looking at the cost of overlays from Legacy, which we did on all of there that you can see right by the restaurant. That seems to be the best fix overall for what we have going on. I'll get back to you guys later with some pricing and some areas where I'm thinking, I'll give you guys some pictures, something to physically look at. That's about the report on that. Rolling into parks here. I reached out to Bailey's Nursery, asked if they could support us as a city with any kind of donation. They reached back to me, gave us 25 beautiful shrubs to plant within the city. So I think that was a huge hats off to them for doing that. I mean, they are beautiful plants where we put them around the signs, all of our welcome to Yamhill signs to kind of get some life to that, some color.
Nice.
once again, I reached out to ODOT to see if I could get them to touch base with me in regards to the downtown planting that everybody's been wanting to do for some time. I haven't got any response. As Shay knows, we have some of that documented.
Is that Sean? District
Correct.
3 manager?
Correct. So we reached to District 2, which that's the district we're in, to see if we can get any kind of resolution of that, but no feedback, but we're trying, you know, I keep picking away at that. That's all I have. I know it's quick, but. Oh, Derby Days. Yeah, we'll talk about that. One ask I had from council, or for council, is to bring summer help on 2 weeks early. I know we budgeted for July, but I'd like to bring them on so I could free up Josh's time to do more of the street maintenance that needs to happen. We're getting pretty bogged down with just weeds, weed eating, mowing, the simplicity of, you know, the small stuff. So if we can bring somebody on, that'd be great. We did have one applicant. I told Angie just to close it out there because that individual applied 2 other times for our positions and he fits the bill for summer help. So with your permission, we can do that now, that'd be great.
So you got somebody in mind and you want to start them immediately rather than wait till July?
Correct.
And what's your budget look like for that? Have you got
It's
that
good. I
covered?
mean, we're pretty low with FTEs just because we've lost so many people. We're down our staff to the 3 of us, so 3.5. So to bring somebody on, it would be a
Any questions for
budgetary
council?
issue.
I think we're okay with that.
Okay, perfect.
Weeds are growing fast this year. Somebody's got to cut.
So that's all I had. If there's any more questions, just let me know.
What's the update on the county-owned DEQ project on the property?
As you guys can tell, I mean, it went through its process. They dug down roughly, the IE on that was probably about 12.5 feet to remove those tanks. The subgrade on record doesn't look that great. Talking to the contractor, you're looking at kind of a 7.67, which is basically you're gonna have to put 7 inches of, you know, 3-inch minus. You're gonna have to really build up that pad for a structure to go on it. You know, cost, we didn't get into the cost, but I have an idea. So to build that back up and to do away with more of the bad soil, bad subgrade there, you'd have to go in and over X what they X'd out, because what they did is they just drug out the tanks and did their due diligence, what that was asked and contracted of them, but there's still some.
There still will need cleaning after that. So whoever owns that property will have to do additional cleaning?
Right, so what was told to me is what you would need to do, and this is pretty vast, but you would have to do dry wells and put like bugs in the ground, introduce them, and that will eat all the oils and contaminants in the ground.
Wasn't that what they were supposed to be doing in addition to removing the tanks, was to remove the contaminated soil? That's what I was under the impression.
Honestly, Shay, they would have been chasing it quite a ways, and it's out of their scope of work.
Talking to the contractor, they removed 140 yards. And then they got additional permission to remove another 100 yards. So they removed like 240, 250 yards of contaminated material. By the time they're done.
And then ODOT signed off on it, like it's clean, I mean.
We got DEQ.
Or did, oh, God, I said ODOT, I meant
DEQ is the ones that were
Yeah.
actually doing the work.
Oh, they were, okay.
They were the contracted agency.
And to be quite honest with you, and this is just my opinion, I think most of the issue comes from this gas station and the spillover.
Oh, really?
And that's just my opinion. That's,
Yeah.
take it for what it is. Because that soil, when we did that project, was bad to the
Way
point.
worse than this one.
Way worse,
Oh, you're kidding
way
me?
worse. I mean, it's spilled over to Larson House. Like 4, 6, 8 feet deep, still roll proofing it because you just so much contamination. So,
So they went as far as they could go as far as property line, but the work really needs to be done.
you know, that's just contractor to, here's a piece of information you might
Yeah,
wanna,
yeah.
you know. either
But it's
hold
good to
it-
know, because
It
if we're
is.
going to be the purchasing, agency, then it's good to know what we're getting into, which is why we didn't purchase it initially.
And as you move forward, you'll get a geotech in there to do what they assume is best, right? They'll test it and say, maybe it's not a 747, maybe it's a 246 or something like that. So that'll vary.
Okay.
We forgot the little house though.
I know, I know. There's people that actually in town that want to keep that house and create an Airbnb with it and a vacation rental and I don't think they've been in it, but
It's gonna take some work.
it takes some work. Yeah, that's what I've recommended, some work. Okay, that's good to know. Getting a heads up on that and not maybe getting blindsided when the county comes to us and says, here you go, we can have that background knowledge.
I'm sure DEQ will file a full report, so.
I'm sure. Will they give us a copy of it, do you
I'm
think?
sure
We're not the
Well-
contracting agency
Could reach out to the county and see if.
and request a copy. That would be good. Can you do that for us?
Yeah, I can do that.
And
Yeah, but yeah,
provide it to council at
I'll give you a time and date when that will be done as far as their report.
Okay, it'll be a while, I'm sure. It's DEQ. So, but it'd be nice to know what we're working with, what the city's got going on. We have a fair idea, but it's all word of mouth and rumor. And so getting some actual numbers would be helpful.
Numbers and facts are good.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Yep.
For being on top of that. Anything else?
That's all I had.
Yeah? Okay. We've been talking about water updates for town hall and the 30% to 13% water loss needs to be part of that. Do you have you even considered a timeline for when you might be presenting all the things that we've been finding?
In regards to that, I guess a big piece of information for you guys is Tim Tice is done with the water rate study. He put a stamp on it. We haven't seen it yet, but it's finished up. He's just doing some of the, I think some of the water loss stuff. So that was part of that conversation I had with him. So.
Is he gonna come back to council for presentation or?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, so, there again, I want to tie that into whatever we decide as far as a town hall with
Okay.
our, I think his information will go over quite well.
We can really make that decision after we get the full report,
Right.
completed report.
I'm sure, yeah.
Thank you. That's good. Thank you very much. Okay. Committee reports, planning committee. Please, Mr. Moore,
Hey,
you've waited so patiently. I appreciate that. Thank you.
well, it's been fascinating. So I'm happy to say that we have a functioning economic development committee. The Yamhill Downtown Association kind of took that on as part of what they do and incorporated in that as research and performance on historical designations.
Mhm.
So they have a place on the agenda and they give a report every meeting.
Excellent. Thank you for
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah,
That's,
Well, I think-
that's cool.
a lot of people's ideas came together and it's just great. That last meeting, we had the application for the gas station again, and I've heard it's coming back again. Do you read those? Did you read what we did there? We turned it down. And we're coming back again. We had 5 areas that 4 of them individually might have been able to kind of work around, but one real one was just the face of the design. I don't know what they're gonna do.
Mhm.
We were pretty clear that it's not in the spirit of the downtown business district overlay.
Mhm.
So we'll see what happens there.
Nice
Oh.
work.
We did also, not sure it was last meeting or since then. It came to my attention, and maybe the whole committee's, that there was interest in an ordinance around bed and breakfast. Somebody came in and said, hey, what are the laws about these things? So we started on that with Walt. He'll be coming to our planning commission meeting with his usual, here's what everybody else does, and here's what maybe we should do, and people here, people there, kind of work it over. And so we're working on that. What I did want to ask was, you said the room tax rate, is this part of a room tax? This fee is called a room tax?
I don't know that it's a room tax, it's, what they call that, lodging tax.
Lodging tax, thank you. And you said that the rate was clear, and you're looking at some document perhaps that I'd like to know.
We can make sure you get that. It's in the packet online, but if you don't want to have to run through the whole packet, I'm sure.
That'd be great, help me get a little more information about that. So we wouldn't be setting rates, that's baked in the concept when you adopt it, is that right?
You could give rate proposals, absolutely. And council would take those into consideration.
I guess we'll know how to guide us on that, because this is new stuff. Is this what a certain percentage of it is taken to be used for tourism? Is that what this?
A certain percent of it is, yes, that percent goes to the state. There's also just a lodging tax for, being in our community and utilizing our services, tax kind of thing. And that their water and our, utilities that helps support the city in managing the increase in those lodging that come intermittently. Plus it's a source of income for the city, and that comes from the state. So the taxes are given to the state of Oregon. The state of Oregon takes their piece of it, and then they give the rest back to the city of Yamhill.
Okay, and so that tourism piece, I know that McMinnville has the lodging tax, and a certain percentage of it they keep in McMinnville to use for tourism. Is that a different construct than what we're talking about here?
It's what McMinnville's chosen to do with that funding. What the city of Yamhill chooses to do with that funding will be determined when we get the funding, I suppose. That hasn't been determined how that income is going to be used.
All right.
I would imagine something towards economic development, but I don't know, so
Okay.
that hasn't been discussed yet.
That's all I have.
It was easy, it's good, nice. And I appreciate that the planning commission is one step ahead of us on the vacation rentals, that was clever.
I point a finger over here.
Yeah,
I think maybe
no, good deal.
I called and we chatted instead of email. I like to chat. And we kind of brought up a lot of stuff. And I think you brought that up, and somebody had come in. So you then contacted Walt.
I sent the agenda to Walt yesterday.
On the agenda was
Perfect.
Discussion regarding.
Thank you, Angie, look at you, organizing and planning, I love it. One more question, the UGB, where are we at with discussions on increasing our UGB and how we can go about that? Has that been discussed yet?
okay, yeah, I wasn't prepared on that one.
Sorry.
We did address that head on last meeting. And Walt is working on the next step. I don't know what that next step is. I don't remember.
Okay,
What agency we go to get recommendations on how to go, what the best way to move forward. But I'll be more prepared on that next time. I'm sorry.
no, that's good, there's chatter going on from certain property owners in our community, farm
Yeah.
owners who may be interested in selling off some of their property or so. I will keep you updated on that chatter as I receive more information. Right now, it's just chatter, but anything's good.
That's
There's discussions taking place.
because it is difficult. It's a very difficult
Process.
job, or it would have been done already. We've taken a run at this a couple of times. I'm not sure. I think COVID maybe took us off course. And there was something else that
Yeah.
that
no,
steered us
you're
away. So
true.
this is probably our third time starting. Oh, we lost our planner. We kind of, the work we had done with our previous
Yeah,
planner kind of got
lost.
lost, right? So there have been a couple of hiccups on that UGB.
So this charter, these particular community people who want to participate in their property, participating in being part of the UGB. When they come to talk with me, is it okay that I invite you to join me in that discussion?
Oh, that'd be
Are
great.
you okay with that?
Let's.
I would like to do that.
Yeah, let's get it,
Okay.
conversation.
Conversation.
Openness and transparency and how's this gonna
Absolutely.
work for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Water Advisory Committee? No meeting? Okay. I think we're waiting on the Tim Tice
This
thing, aren't
month,
we?
right? We have a meeting
Okay.
this month.
And we're just kind of on hold until, but we've
Because
got
we
the
switched
information.
to-
Really waiting on the Tim Tice thing.
No? Okay.
We just switched to every other month
Oh, that's right. Thank you for
and
reminding
we
me.
changed our time too.
I appreciate that. Downtown Association, do we have anybody for representing there? Is there anybody online? If you are, please unmute. Seeing no one at this time, we'll move to Yamhill Neighborhood Association. A report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Oh, while I get my left leg working again. I'd like to reintroduce myself. My name is Robert Davis. I am the founder of Yamhill Neighborhood Association. We are a 501c3 organization. With that said, since we're under the header of committee reports, I would ask the council's permission to call upon Christine Regalado to deliver an economic development committee report, if you so choose. She is online right now, and I will speak after she gets done. Christine, are you there?
Hi, Kristen Regalado here, 100 South Laurel Street. I have been a part of the Economic Development Committee. We've had 2 meetings so far. We've been meeting once a month. We have 5 members. And so far we've just been looking at several small towns that are about the size that we are. And we've been just kind of looking at their ordinances and trying to develop a plan to present to the planning committee so that we can help create an organized plan for future economic development within the city. And we definitely have a lot of work to do, but it's been fun and we're ambitious. And yeah, so far we've just been kind of like looking at several different cities and trying to kind of like make a game plan.
Thank you.
Yes, so to further explain, I am one of the members of the Economic Development Group. And with that said, our first goal is to ascertain the look and the feel of our city of Yamhill, to maintain and possibly ask for code changes down the road through the Planning Commission, through the City Council, that will move us in the direction of what has basically other cities like us historically have gone and done 25 and 30 years ago. So we're playing catch up again in this respect, but we're making an effort to move as fast forward as we can with regard to this. But there's a lot of water in the sea that we have to look through to pick out what works for Yamhill. And that's going to be the big chore. Might take us another month just to even get anything to bring to the Planning Commission, which will of course be brought to the City Council for any changes that might be. Still again, we have Walt in our corner. We have him in our sites. He is willing to work with us as long as we have specific questions without dragging him through to all the meetings and costing the city emptying amounts of money. Other than that, that's it for the report. I am now speaking as Yamhill Neighborhood Association founder and would like the council's permission, along with YDA, which is also your other 501c3 organization, to put us back in the presentation part of this agenda, because YNA is an organization, not a committee. YDA is an organization, not a committee. If you would like an additional Economic Development Committee report, we would oblige you. Go ahead. Other than that, for Yamhill Neighborhood Association, that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Appreciate your report.
Yes.
And thank you, Kristen. I'm excited about what you are doing and I commend you, actually, all of you for stepping into the water as Mr. Davis explained. It's a big undertaking. But if we don't step in the water, it never happens, right? So we never get to the boat. Thank you, both. Is there anything else that you would like to report? Is that okay?
No.
And presentation.
Until YNA gets put back on the agenda the way it was, YNA has nothing more to say.
All right, we appreciate that. Council reports. Councilor Corrigan, I know you had something you wanted to present.
Yeah.
Didn't you? Vacation rentals or something, didn't you?
Yeah, so, yes, we've talked about so much before, I didn't know where you were going there. So it comes down to the vacation rentals, the Airbnb type things. It was something that I've been either listening to the planning meetings or going to them recently, and well, for a couple of years now. Okay, and there's a few things that I wanted to address with it. For example, the city of Yamhill does not have a noise ordinance involving parties or music outside specifically. And I know that was a big problem that like the city of Lincoln City had when they started getting a lot of vacation rentals. So there's just a few things like that that I would probably just address directly with the planning as they're starting to bring forward their ideas on where we're gonna go with that.
Good.
Other than that, and Ken Moore had that pretty much nailed down on the urban growth boundaries that Walt just said that he was headed out to kind of decide where that would go and what other places have done and what that looks like. So he was dead on with, we don't really know.
Okay.
Walt is very good about going out and doing research from far and wide and coming back with a tiny little package to say, well, they've done this here and it worked, or they've done this there and it didn't work so well. And then leaving planning to make the determination for the city to make a recommendation.
No, I
So,
commend that. That's
yeah.
good. That's good. That's good, helpful. Yes, sir.
I just added to the request to add to the agenda of updates from Walt on the UGB. Our planning commission meeting's on Monday, this coming Monday,
Coming up.
at 6:30. We're trying to move to Mondays for Sean. Wednesday, that'll be also, it's on the agenda, the date of our meetings.
I just had some,
That day.
want to add to the planning committee. I know we talked about the fats, oils and greases. The fats, oils, and greases, the
yeah.
grease interceptors, is that something you guys could possibly discuss with new buildings coming on?
No, it isn't fat, got it.
Point of information, UGB, is that what we're adding to the agenda?
Stands for urban growth.
Urban growth boundary.
Expansion. So it was mentioned during one of the reports, a report from Yamhill Neighborhood Association about how they have created an economic development committee as part of their association. And talking about including the city planner in their discussions, but being careful as to not to utilize the city planner on city time and city expense, which I do want to make a note that, yes, that can't be done. And we do appreciate that you take that into consideration when utilizing his services. The Economic Development Committee, I'm curious about that though. Was that not something that was discussed as being part of the planning committee? Did we not, as a council?
I had that here as a note,
I'm just needing clarification.
I believe that to have been a subcommittee of the planning committee. So I think that planning had asked for that to happen, that there's an economic development committee. And then there's people that volunteered, I believe Kristen and Bob and some other folks had.
We had a whole discussion. So Ken, can you remind me what that was?
Yeah, sure. We were commissioned by the ordinance that, or the verbiage, the report that you gave to appoint a committee, and so we did, and that committee was pretty much synonymous, same people that are on the Downtown Association are now on the Economic Development Committee.
So was that,
Is it subcommittee?
We appointed it. Subcommittee, I don't know, it's just it's a committee appointed by the planning commission. Was that kind of the intent?
The subcommittee, yeah.
Subcommittee.
Project initiative.
All right, I'll use those words, subcommittee.
Yes.
Great.
Okay, and so of the planning commission, so
Got
they're
it.
doing the work that they're doing, which is exceptional, and I'm so grateful they're diving into that water, that pond, because it's gonna be deep. But so they then report to the planning commission, who then works with them and supports, or
Them with ordinances and how we can do that. That's one way to help that. And
excellent.
when other ways become available that maybe we can't help and maybe we can't, but we'll look for those who can, I guess.
No, this is good. I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page and understanding the same information. So, and this, the same structure of how it's to occur.
Okay.
Excellent, thank you. That
I
works
just
for
did
me.
a quick question.
Yes, please.
I was curious, so Bob, does Yamhill Neighborhood Association have its own economic development committee? Or was that just part of the planning committee?
So if you allow me a minute, I'll explain. The reason that I brought the Economic Development Committee into this is because it's under the heading item 10, committee reports. Yamhill Neighborhood Association is not a committee, and so we don't have a report as such. So under committee reports, I brought the Economic Development Committee in as a one-time speaking, just to bring the council up to date, and also the Planning Commission. I know Mr. Moore would be here. And so we didn't have a lot to say, but we wanted to make ourselves known. And so other than that, that's the only reason I brought the economic.
So there was two separate things.
But YNA is not part of the Economic Development Committee.
Okay,
However, YNA did start the historical research and has asked for the state of Oregon to help us with the historical sections of the downtown situation. And so because of the historical section, which I started almost over a year ago, and I've met with several people from the state, I have decided to sit on the economic development as a help to provide my expertise for the historical section as well as the economic development, but separately from YNA. So YNA is not actually involved in.
no, we understand that and we appreciate that. I was needing clarification because I got the impression that the Economic Development Committee was a subcommittee of YNA.
Yeah,
And I
no,
didn't
no,
understand that to be.
no, we are a subcommittee
Okay.
of the planning commission and we report to the planning
Okay.
commission. This was just a
Okay.
one-time anomaly that
Thank
I
you.
had brought to the council's attention because of being under
Absolutely.
committee reports. But with that said, also let me clarify that YDA is not actually involved in this either. They are like me. There is a member of YDA that is involved in economic development and will bring their expertise as YDA, as I will with Yamhill Neighborhood Association and the historical aspect. So we're bringing all our resources together to build this economic development committee.
It
So-
takes a village,
and
doesn't it?
yes, and just so that you are aware, we have Kristen Regulado. We have myself, we have Kara, and we have, now I'm spacing her name. The owner of,
Anita?
no, the gutter.
Oh,
Sue
yes.
Richardson.
Sue, thank you. Yeah, Sue. And we have Angela, who is also on board for YDA. So 2 members of YDA, 1 of them YNA, and then Sue Richardson and then. So
That's excellent.
that's our committee.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Moore, as the Planning Commission Chair, will you be reporting on the reports you receive from the Economic Development Committee?
Well, sure. Shall we streamline that or make the reports go, let's not have to stand up here and take time and maybe it'll be written. If we do it in both meetings, what's your
Well,
pleasure?
as the Chair of the Planning Commission, I'm gonna leave that up to you,
Okay,
how you want to manage that. If you want them to report, provide a report to you and then you report to the council, which would be my preference. But if you have a
I'll do
better
that.
plan, I'm open to that.
no, that's fine. I'll bring a synopsis and be brief and except when it needs to be longer. And then you can choose to dive into something
Sounds perfect,
if we need the help
perfect,
or the oversight. All
excellent.
right,
Thank you for all you do as the chair, by the way. That, I know it's a lot of work.
My pleasure.
Yes, yes, it is. Okay. So back to council reports. Councilor Corrigan, did you have additional questions or things that you wanted to?
Right now, not really. I have some things that I'm working with Chief on, and I'm excited to have something for the next meeting.
Yeah, that will be exciting.
Yes.
Cool, excellent. Counselor Askey, do you have anything as council that you would like to report or bring for discussion? You do not. I know that other counselors were able to see this. I will present it to the one counselor who may not have seen it. And should I make?
Sure.
All right, so I'd like to put on record that the city of Yamhill is accepting on June 14th, 2023, or as of June 14th. Today is June 14th, 2023. Ross Schultz, the interim city administrator's resignation. At this time, it states, at this time, I would like to thank you for allowing me to be the interim city administrator for the city of Yamhill. I have worked with some great people and have enjoyed my time here. However, it is time for me to tender my resignation per the terms of our agreement. It is my intention to set June 30th as my last day as your interim. Thanks again for the opportunity. And Mr. Schultz, we would really like to thank you for number one, volunteering to step into this.
Reach.
I don't, yeah. And we unhappily accept your resignation. but are extremely grateful for your time that you've devoted to our community. Thank you.
You bet.
Any reports? No, okay, I have none either. Information announcements, planning commission, decision.
Just
There's a copy of that.
just a copy of it is all.
Oh, okay, thank you. We presented that, didn't we? No. No, well, but you didn't, did mention it. Yeah, he reported on the decision to deny.
Yeah.
Okay, so he reported on this already, that he denied the application for the property development. Okay, so we're good with that.
What was denied?
The planning commission, this is a report on the planning commission's denial of the parcel development on the gas station development.
What I talked
Yeah, that you presented already. So we as a council don't need to present because you handled it. And anything else for the good of the, good of the council, good of the city? At this time, we adjourn.
Make a motion